Yo, what is the deal, everybody? What is the deal? Oh my God, man. Welcome to another Raider Nation Unlimited. I'm your man, Wasted Talent. Salute to everybody in the chat. I was going to change the thumbnail up because, as you guys have heard, Jermaine Pratt was released today, right? But look, the whole theme of the show is the Aftermath Monday, right? So that's part of the aftermath. So I kept it the same, bro. We're going to get into the good, the bad, and the ugly. And there has not been a lot of good lately, Raider Nation. There has not been a lot of good. There's been a whole multitude of bad decisions, bad play, bad behavior, and for quite frankly, bad football, right? Bad coaching, bad GMing, and not for nothing, but brother, bad fandom. Like, yo, it's all bad. Like, if I'm being honest, right, we part of the problem too. And I know y'all gonna be like, wait, so what are you talking about, yo? How is that possible? We part of the problem. I'm gonna tell you why. We let this organization off the hook way too fast, yo, including me. We let them off the hook. We let them off the hook for bringing in Band-Aids at quarterback every freaking year. We let them off the hook for making bad decisions, right? And we sometimes, make it hard for the organization to even build, right? Because like right now, we 5 games in, right? There was a lot of hype, but let's talk about the reality. The reality of the situation is that this is a 4-13 football team. That is what we're dealing with here. And it doesn't take a whole lot for shit to go awry with a team that is 4-13, right? Even if you change a few players, right? Even if you bring in a quarterback, right? If you're not bringing in a Patrick Mahomes, so to speak, right? Or a Josh Allen or a Joe Burrow, and you're bringing in a middle of the road guy, right? With a middle of the road quarterbacks, you have a lot of peaks and you got a hell of a lot of valleys. And right now with Geno Smith, we are in the valley right now. We are in the valleys of the shadows of death because Geno Smith is on pace for, if we were playing baseball, a 30-30 season. He'd be on the money, 30-30, 40. Man, Geno Smith would be aces if we were playing baseball. But this is football, right? So he's on pace to throw 30 interceptions, doubling what he did last year, right? So we look back to when Geno was really good. What happened? He was turning it around in Seattle, right? But, yo, when Geno Smith was turning it around out there in Seattle, guess who the guy who was calling the shots out there was? Who was the guy out there helping this guy out, calling the shots when he was out there? Because he's not here now, and it wasn't Pete Carroll. It was not Pete Carroll. So we got to look deeper into this, right? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? You know what I'm saying? Is it the fact that, you know, now Geno Smith is not with a guy like Dave Canales, right? You know, because Geno Smith years ago credited Dave Canales for speaking life into him, right? And helping him break through. Geno Smith said this, not me, right? But what I would say is this, right? You have a situation now where all of us are pissed off. The Raiders are, 1-4. And it's not the fact that they're 1-4, because if we're being honest, right? A lot of us thought that the Raiders would be 2-3 when we were doing our preseason prediction. We figured they'd get that Bears win, right? A lot of people figured they'd lose to Washington. We figured we get the New England game, right? And the Chargers game, we always split with them. That's up in the air. These are all things that we thought. These are all things that we thought, right? Like, I mean, I'm not crazy, right? I'm not crazy. These are all things that we all thought. But if I'm being honest, right? How much can a team turn around from 4-13? How does that happen when you have a new GM that comes in here and has not made a lot of swings in free agency? How do you turn this around when a draft class that comes in, you take a running back at number 6, which is fine. That's fine, right? Like, my thing is not when you take somebody, but how good the player is that you took, right? Because just because you didn't go offensive line or defensive tackle, right? You can get an impactful offensive lineman in free agency. You can get that same guy, and if you draft properly, in the 3rd or the 4th round. I mean, for God's sakes, we drafted Max Crosby in the 4th round. We drafted Hunter Renfrow late. Like, it can happen, right? You just got to do the right thing. You got to draft properly, right? So how did we get here? How did we get here, yo? Now, everybody's upset and everybody wants Pete Carroll fired. Everybody wants Pete Carroll fired. What I want Pete Carroll called out on the carpet. The honeymoon is over. We need to definitely hold his feet to the fire. But what does not need to happen is that Pete Carroll needs to be fired. I don't think he needs to be fired. Now, I know there's a lot of people out here that is calling for this guy's job. I think that's asinine, and I don't give a shit who says it. I think it's stupid, because that's the problem right now. And this is where I find, us as a fan base, right? I feel like we need to wear, and this has nothing to do with them losing on the field. I think just from some of the things that we expect as fans, right? You can't continue to fire coaches and think there's going to be no collateral damage to that. There are a lot of people that have been with this organization, bro, that we wanted gone. The John Gruden thing, that kind of happened. We didn't want that to happen. It just came out of nowhere, right? So, John Gruden kind of got Pearl Harbored by the league, and, that was what it was, right? We didn't want Jack Del Rio to get fired either. I don't think I did. At the time I did. It just happened, right? Because they did it to bring in Gruden. But how many times, bro, have we asked for a coach's head or a GM's head? I remember last year everybody wanted Tom Telesco fired. He's not making enough moves. Coupon Tom, right? I used to call him Coupon Tom. People are saying the players don't like Pete. People were saying the players didn't like Josh McDaniels, and they brought in Antonio Pierce, and they gave the players what they wanted, and then we would call off Antonio Pierce's head. Right? See, these are the things these are the conveniences we forget. And now I see people on Twitter and we should have kept Tom Telesco. Bro, it's week 5. And it don't look like it's going to get much better, right? But whether it gets better or whether it doesn't, we got to give these people a chance to kind of craft this thing into what they feel like they're going to craft it into. Now, what I feel like we do need to do is we need to hold Pete Carroll. We need to hold this organization. We need to hold Mark Davis. We need to hold the Raiders media and even myself, all of the content creators. We need to be held accountable for the shit that we're putting out here. We need to be held accountable for holding the organization accountable. And trust me, today we will be holding the organization accountable, yo. We will be holding them accountable, right? So I look at the metric for Pete Carroll, right? And the metric for Pete Carroll that I can think in the last few years is kind of Sean Payton, right? Sean Payton came in with Denver. Things weren't going great the first season. There were some people that doubted. He went out there, he got his quarterback, made some moves, brought in some players, and then things kind of start turning around for Denver, right? You can go back to Dick Vermeil. Dick Vermeil didn't turn it around with the Rams. I don't think he turned it around with them right off the bat. I got to remember the year Dick Vermeil got there. I think Dick Vermeil might have won right off the bat. So this is a bad example. Part itself, right? But for me, you know, like, and Raider OG says, Pete Carroll ain't Sean Payton. And what I will say to you is that Pete Carroll, you know, has kind of done more than Sean Payton, right? In this league. So what I would say is this, right? I'm not trying to say that this organization is without blame, because they definitely need to be held accountable. We're gonna get to this Jermaine Pratt thing too, but we need to understand what the metric is with the front office and with Pete Carroll. And what I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna come on here today, right, and throw gas on the fire, right? I'm not gonna come here and say, yo, he definitely needs to be fired, but things do need to change. And if things don't change by the end of the season in some subsistent way, then we got to entertain that again, I guess. Then we got to entertain it again, because there's definitely a problem in Las Vegas. There's a problem, yo. It's good in some ways, but it's more bad and ugly. You know, and this is the thing, you know, how we hold Compete accountable wasted. Ask him to reimburse 50% of his salary. I'm here for it. We don't got to pay it either way. I don't care how much Pete Carroll gets paid. It doesn't affect the salary cap. I don't give a shit if Mark Davis pays him $1 billion or he pays him $3. I can care less. Pete Carroll don't pay my mortgage. I don't give a shit. This is the thing with me, right? First and foremost, Pete Carroll needs to be held accountable for the way that he is dealing with this Geno Smith situation. That's first and foremost. I think that he loses a ton of credibility when you say that Geno Smith is going to get. And look, I don't want to misquote Pete Carroll, right? I don't want to misquote him. So you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up what Pete was saying, right? You know, Pete Carroll said when he was asked to evaluate Geno Smith after watching the tape of the game versus Indy, he goes, G was solid. G's just got to keep doing it. He's got to stay with it. We got to continue to build around him. He's got to do his part also. So that's it. That's it, Pete. He's got to do his part. That's it. That's the hill you're going to die on, Pete. Really. To me, to me, right? Just as a fan base. Now, I don't know what I'm trying to kind of get a gauge of what's going on in the locker room, right? And I'm fishing around, I'm asking. But just for a fan base, right, that has gone through as much as we've gone through, and I know he's got to coach the team in the building, right? He's not really necessarily worried about what we think. But the problem is this, yo. Pete Carroll came here and said, yo, when I was at USC, the fans meant a lot. We got to get the fans back. How do you think the fans are going to deal with this level of ineptitude? How? You got people already in week 5 like Luis Galvez. He goes, sup, wasted. I checked out this year already. And the crazy thing is that you got a guy like Luis Galvez that has checked out for the year, but he's checking in with wasted talent. You got people who aren't watching the games, but they're over here with us all the time, every week, every night, anytime. The fact that the content creators for the team that we support are more entertaining than a goddamn team is horrendous. Horrendous. So first and foremost, we need to hold Pete accountable for, first of all, bringing Geno Smith here. Listen, if that's his guy, cool. Everybody's like, oh, well, he could have brought Sam Darnold here, right? He could have brought this one, and he could have brought Daniel Jones and this and that. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Yo, they would come here and it probably would be the same problem. Because when you start talking about a quarterback, bro, there are a lot of things that make a quarterback successful. And when you talk about in today's NFL, Sanjeet said this a long time ago, bro. And I'm not going to take credit for something Sanjeet said, but I agree 100% with it. You show me a great play caller, and I'll show you how successful the quarterback will be. He didn't say it as swaggy as I did, but he said something kind of close to that. Salute to Sanjeet. But there's a lot of things that Pete needs to be held accountable for. The way that they handled the Jackson Powers Johnson situation, and the fact that it is looking like week after week after week that Jordan Meredith, no matter what it says on PFF, is getting taken to the woodshed anytime there's an elite nose tackle. And you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Andre James. Seems like the same shit, right? But worse, because at least Andre James played better. But what I want y'all to know is calling for Pete's job does nothing for this organization but set us back another 7 years. It does nothing, especially now. It makes us look like a goddamn dumpster fire. Some people are saying, where's Brady and Spy Tech? Two things, right? You got some people that are saying that Brady has his guys in the building. Doug, I don't necessarily know how true that is. Then you talk about where's Spy Tech. Spy Tech's up there in the booth watching this shit show every week because this is a roster he helped put together, right? But see, this is the thing. When you have a coach that's as powerful as Pete Carroll has been, right? Is it a collaborative effort? Because if I'm being honest, right, I was happy when John Spytek was hired because John Spytek supposedly has final cut. But that needs to continue on. He needs to have final cut because we can't have a situation where we have a coach that's too close to the situation calling the shots. Salute to my brother, Rudy the Vet Russo. Wasted. It's time for a youth movement. Let's see DeCam, Rogers, Grant, Eichenberg, these first and second year guys, and see if they have a foundation to build on, or is it ground up rebuilding? Now, look, this is the thing, Rudy. They say that, you know, this was a retool, not a rebuild. But, bro, this is a rebuild. There's no other way because we say, yo, oh, it's not a rebuild because of what? Like, who do we have that is not a person that we wouldn't decide to get rid of? There's two players on this team that we would dig our heels in for and say, yo, 3, Genty, 4, Genty, Bowers, Max Crosby, and possibly Colton Miller. And everyone else really could pot, and maybe JPJ, but everyone else on this team, nobody else would lose any sleep if they weren't on the fucking team. Anybody in the wide receiver room, anybody else on the offensive line, anybody on the defensive line, all these guys can go. We don't really give a shit as a fan base, do we? Now, see, the problem is you come in and you have an amalgamation of talent from 3 different regimes, and now we're wondering why it's not working. And I think the problem is that Pete Carroll was sold a bill of goods, and he's selling us a bill of goods. And you need to just say the quiet thing out loud and come in here and clean house. If that's what you're going to do. If you guys want to institute your shit and you're going to keep Brock and you're going to keep Max and you're going to keep JPJ and you're going to keep Ashton Genty because you drafted him, right? And you want to come through with a paintbrush and just or a broom and sweep everybody out of the building, then just do it, man. Don't try to act like everybody's all special fuckers and you're jumping around and doing wind sprints and hitting people with elbows, the people's elbow, you know, playing around, and then you bench the guy or you're cutting them. Like, stop trying to act like a fucking nice guy. Don't be nice. Like with this thing with Jermaine Pratt, and we're going to get into that, right? Why was Jermaine Pratt cut? Why was Raheem Mostert not playing most of the season? Why? Probably going to tell you. The Raiders, and they said this on a broadcast, and I knew that. The Raiders do not, this regime does not like to have people that are not considered starters that are not, that won't play special teams. Now, this is the thing. There's a few things about Jermaine Pratt, right? Jermaine Pratt is a vet. He's a vet, man. He is a vet. A lot of vets do not want to play special teams. They refuse to play special teams, especially if they've gotten paid already. Vets don't like playing special teams, bro. They don't. Then there's rumors that Jermaine Pratt was very vocal in Las Vegas. Very, very vocal. But, you know, Pete Carroll said, you know, we wanted to go in a different direction. And if I'm being honest, man, that's coach speak right there. That's the politically correct thing. But what that means to me is that, yo, we don't want him anymore. He's a problem. We got to get him out of here. Now, people say it's head scratching because they signed him to a 1-year, $4.2 million deal just in June, right? Just days after Cincinnati, the team he spent 6 seasons with, showed him the door. Now, it looked like a pickup for the Raiders where, you know, we're taking somebody else's trash and trying to turn it into a Raider treasure. But that shit hasn't happened in a very, very long time for the Raiders, right? So normally what we wind up doing is we go and we pick up everyone's trash around the National Football League and we wind up throwing it back out the next bulk cleanup day. Now, this is the thing. Since Pratt has been here, he's logged 25 tackles, and he's been a solid presence in pass coverage. And the rest of the linebacking core has been dog shit. He's allowed a passer rating of 70.7 when targeted. By comparison, right, Devin White has been far more generous, bro. Far more generous. I love Devin White. He's been tackling. He's had a resurgence. But if you're talking about him in pass pro, he has been getting his cookies taken from him. Like a schoolyard bully at a private school. You're either competing or you're not. And this is the fucked up thing about this. And I know this is a family show. I'm going to watch my damn mouth, right? But what metric is Geno Smith competing with? So is this your arrogance, Pete? Do you not like for somebody calling you out and disagreeing with you? I'm asking. I'm asking. Did your son have to compete for his job? Now, listen, we talk about nepotism. It is a part of life, right? But now we're in a situation where the coaching staff is looking like it's not prepared. Team isn't prepared. There hasn't been any benefit to having all these master coaches in the building. There hasn't been one benefit. Chip Kelly's supposed to be an innovative play caller. The only thing he's innovative at is not moving the football. That's it. Chip Kelly has been an abject failure since he's been with the Ravens, right? The compete thing is seeming like a goddamn joke because Jordan Meredith is not competing. Is he? Because he's been playing terrible. Is he competing? Who is he competing against? To be the worst center in football? What the fuck are we talking about here? And this is the thing. If the problem is that Jermaine Pratt was calling out the organization or the coaching staff in private, like my man just said in the chat, and they can't take it, then what are we dealing with here? We're dealing with a bunch of fucking snowflakes here. Then instead of Geno competing for the bench, he's talking about this man needs to practice in the middle of a goddamn game. I'm just asking. In the middle of the goddamn game. Competing? What the hell are we talking about? So that's ugly, right? Another thing. I gotta call Pete out for the way they handled the Brock Bowers situation. How on earth do you allow a player that is valuable as Brock Bowers to go and play with his career like that? How? How? And the biggest problem is that there's a lot of Raider Nation that would be like, oh, if they fired Pete today, I wouldn't care, right? But if you fire Pete, that does two things, right? If Pete Carroll gets fired this season, in the season, you can bet Max Crosby's going to want out. 100%. And if he does, he does. I'm still going to be a Raider fan, but I think it's a shame, right? It's a shame. And also, what you got to ask is this, right? Who in the building has the stroke to be a collaborator with Pete Carroll and kind of adapt his old school ways in a sense? Is there one person? Is there anybody? Because what I'm going to tell you is this, right? We need to kind of pump the brakes on a few things. What I'm going to tell y'all is this, yo. Does the coaching staff need to be called out? You goddamn right. But does Pete need to be fired? No. But guess what? I got a coach that probably needs to be fired. The special teams coach. Tom McMahon. Come to the front of the congregation. It's time for a change. Now. It's time for a change, bro. Tom McMahon has been terrible. And the only reason why Tom McMahon has not been fired is because of Daniel Carlson and AJ Cole. You talk about offense and defense. Special teams should never be an issue while we lose a game, right? And I I firmly believe that the two biggest reasons why we got blown out here and why we got blown out in Washington, right, is Geno and the special teams. We lost the Bears game because of special teams. The special teams have not been so special since Tom McMahon has been here, right? Now, then we get into talking about the quarterback situation, right? We got Geno here, we got Geno here, we got Geno here. I'm going to tell you something. There is no metric to where the Raiders can stand pat and not focus on drafting a young quarterback, because when all of this comes down the line, you get some people that are like, oh, well, we got to have a line first. We got to have a defense first. We got to listen. You don't get any of that stuff to work right unless you get the quarterback. Getting an offensive line does not necessarily mean you got to draft them all. We built the offensive line through free agency back when Carr had car insurance. Rodney Hudson, free agent. Kelechi Osemele, free agent. Donald Penn, free agent. And then whomever we had at right tackle, man, most of the time was a free agent, like Austin Howard from the Jets. We had Khalif Barnes and all these guys. Yo, free agents. Now, Gabe is somebody we drafted. And guess what? We didn't draft Gabe Jackson in the first round. We got him in the later rounds. And he was a baller. But these were free agents, bro. So you can address the line in free agency, man. You can. You just have to commit to changing it. You got to commit to changing it. You got to commit to changing it. Wasted. I know you go on JT the Brick show. Don't listen. Let me tell you something. What? And I brought that up. I shouldn't have brought it up, but I will. And I'm going to say something for you guys. What do you expect for people who work for the fucking Raiders to say? What do you want them to say, bro? You want them to call out? Do you go in and call your bosses out? See, I don't work for the Raiders, right? I'm a blessed man. I have a great career, right? And this is something that I do that because it feeds my soul, not my family, right? There are others that do feed their family with this, and God bless them. I don't, right? But is it important to me? Yeah. Is it something that I want to grow doing? Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Is if I was presented with the opportunity for this to be my main gig, would I take it? I don't know. But it's not about me, right? This is about the Raiders right now. And I haven't even really started the show. I've been on my soapbox the whole game. But bro, what do you want these people to say, bro? What do you want? What do you want? Like, what do you guys want? What do you want from the content creators? We can tell the truth, right? But at the end of the day, we're all fans of the team. We got to figure something out, right? We got to try to give y'all both sides of it. Right? I hear people that just want everything and everything burnt down and everyone fired and everybody knows the problems. But what's the fucking solution? What's the solution? And bro, you guys, I see people, and I don't want to get into this, bro, because I don't want to talk about nobody else, bro. I don't give a shit about what nobody else do. But what I'll tell you is that you guys will be like, well, yo, you know, they don't care. You got to understand something, bro. You got people that have come on here and talk about the team and shit all over the team, right? And then the very next week, just either paradigm shift or disappear. Because that's just some people's whole hype, to talk shit about the team. Then you got some people that call for people's jobs, right? Fire this one, fire that one, right? They don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. You got people that don't have not one ear in that building, and they make shit up because they have a certain voice, and then all these blogs and shit, they pick it up and they write about it and give it validity. You listen, bro. Let me tell you something. You got guys like me that have been a fan of this team before these players were even fucking born. Before a lot of these content creators were born, bro. Look, man, look, bro. I'm gonna tell you like this, yo. Look, man. You got some motherfuckers, bro, that live and die with this shit. We don't want to see. We're gonna tell it to you right because we live and die with it. Yo, you get guys like say for instance, and I want to like Graf. He lives and dies with this shit. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes you gotta come and put on the show and you gotta be a professional, but he lives and dies with this shit. I live and die with this shit. This pisses me off, bro. It don't make me feel good. Bro, it doesn't make me feel good, bro. We live and die with this shit, bro. That shit hurts when we got to come here and really be for real and dress the team down. We wanted this shit to work. It's not, though. But what we can't do is, yo, we can't just call for people's jobs willy-nilly like that. These are people that got families, right? We can't just call for people's jobs, and then if they go on a winning streak, then you shut up. We can't do that, bro. What do I think should happen? This is what I think should happen. You want to hear it? Like to hear, here it go. What I think should happen is right now, you talk about compete Pete Carroll, those words will echo as hollow as the vagina of a woman who was in a you're not even listen, those words will ring as hollow as an empty water bottle if you don't hold the supposed leader of the offense accountable for turning the football over. You have to. You can't have a guy throwing interceptions week after week after week after week, and then you pat him on the head, and then you holding a guy that's a second-year player, like Jackson Powers Johnson, because he has a high opinion of himself or because he makes a mistake or two, and then you're playing games with this guy's career and sitting him down. Sit that motherfucker down. Sit Geno Smith down. But I don't want to hear this compete shit if you're not going to sit Geno Smith down and hold his ass accountable. And there goes the family show, Tease. There it goes. It's gone. It's BS. And if we can see it, the guys in the building can see it. That's the first thing. Second thing is Pete Carroll needs to go up in that booth. And I don't know what Chip Kelly needs to do to remember how to call plays and remember how to be an offensive coordinator and remember how to be innovative, right? And I don't want any fail-safe shit. I don't want them to go and be like, we're going to fire the quarterback coach. Geno Smith is here, and the reason why you don't draft a young quarterback is because he is supposed to be a steady in hand. At this point, it looks like we took a step back from Aiden O'Connell. That's the problem. It looks like we took a step back. Because we got a guy that is trying to have a baseball all-star season, a 30 for 30 season, 30 touchdowns and 30 picks. Yo, that's what's happening now. Y'all, let me read some of these supers, man. I've been on my soapbox the whole game, yo. You're either competing or you're not. Pete Carroll. My guy, J Rock. There's a bad assumption that these guys are still AP guys. Where Pete is focused on making those guys compete more so than others to prove that he's the mofo in charge. If Pete wants to do that, right, all of that posturing, all that old school hard-nosed football coach shit goes out the window when you playing with them. When you we're upbeat and you know what I'm saying? Like, don't be a phony, bro. It's either you hard-nosed or you trying to lay the law down and you not. And then the thing is, you can't make allowances for guys you brought in that are fucking terrible. Like Alex Kappa, like Geno Smith. You can't do that, bro. You can't do that. You have to hold those guys accountable. That's it. And it's sad, bro, because we got the kind of fan base, like I said, bro, yo, I can't speak for other people, bro. I can only speak for the guys that I know. Right? The guys that I know. Yo, Big Mike lives with this shit. Graf lives with this shit. Hammer lives with this shit and dies with it. We love the Raiders. Andy lives and dies. That's why I think Andy don't really be on here like that. He can't come up here and keep watching the team lose and like short circuit every fucking week. He just can't do it. It takes a special kind of person to be able to come on here and just try to find some glimmer of hope. And then you have the peanut gallery to have a narrative, right? But, you know, that's their business. Then you got the guys that'll ride whatever wave will make you guys put money in a tin cup for. You know? You got a lot of newfound guys, right, that fucking can't even tell you who the quarterback of the Raiders was before Derek Carr. And you know, the fuck up out of here with that crap. And then you got people in here. Yo, I got almost 800 people in here, and we're 1-4. And we just got rid of Jermaine Pratt. And Jermaine Pratt is our best cover linebacker. Our best cover linebacker. We got rid of him. Why? And we got to ask ourselves, is it because he's a malcontent? Is that the reason why Cincinnati? Or was because he was saying a little truth? And some people don't like to fucking hear the truth. It don't seem like this organization want to hear the truth. But I know one goddamn thing. Somebody better bring some truth, bro. It's time to bring some truth. People say, yo, I'm telling you, the Raiders War Report, I'm telling you, Chip Kelly ain't the problem. It's Geno and the O-line. Bro, let me tell you something, bro. I love how people say shit like this, right? 2 or 3 things can be true at the same time, bro. There's a little bit of both. Do we have an offensive line, right, that is missing Colton Miller? Yes, we do. Do we have a guy at center who gets walked back into the quarterback's lap? Yes, we do. Do we have a quarterback that right now is not seeing the field well and that needs to be motivated? And maybe he might need some pine to motivate that ass because he's been on the bench more than he started in his career. And guys, look, I don't want to hear about, yo, we could have had Aaron Rodgers. Because, yeah, I said that. I wanted Aaron Rodgers. Everybody's like, oh, fuck him. He's a diva. See, you guys, oh, you talk about in the draft back there, yeah, we could have Aaron. We could have had Dan Marino. We could have had Aaron Rodgers. We could have had a lot of people, right? Then we could have had Daniel Jones. We could have had Sam Darnold. Yeah, we could have had all of them. But that doesn't mean they're going to play well when they get here in silver and black, right? Because the problem with it is that the whole execution of how this shit has gone down has been the wrong concept. It's the wrong concept. And it's not the referees hating on us. It ain't the refs hating on us. There's a lot of people that say it's the owner's fault, right? But then I'm the kind of person who feels like this, right? Mark Davis inherits a team. His father didn't have him around the organization. He's not a football guy. He is a owner. When you talk about an owner, you have an owner who took a team who was the least financially solvent team in football. They were broke. They couldn't even make the fucking payroll. And he crafted a way to move this team into a situation to where we could compete. We can go after free agents. I don't know if y'all remember, like when everybody wanted Ndamukong Suh to come here when he was leaving Detroit. And he wound up going to Miami. There was two reasons that didn't happen. The Raiders ain't had the money, and there's no state income tax down there. And Ndamukong Suh is about his chicken, right? But there's so many times where, like the Khalil Mack situation, we lost Khalil Mack because Mark ain't have the money, bro. So what does he do? He goes in, all he knows is John Gruden's great. I'm gonna go get John. That was a huge mistake. That's the biggest mistake Mark ever made, was going to bring John Gruden back. It's terrible. The second one was paying Derek. Was paying Derek in lieu of paying Khalil. He should have built and made it to me, right? I think that there's an issue in the league where quarterbacks get paid just because they're quarterbacks. Quarterbacks get paid just because they're quarterbacks. I don't like Chris Sims, but he says some shit that was very, very real. He says, my dad did not get paid as much as Lawrence Taylor because my father was not fucking Lawrence Taylor. And Derek Carr is not fucking Khalil Mack. He never was. And there's a lot of people that says, oh, well, we should have kept him. Doesn't matter, bro. He's the kind of quarterback that you can't pay as a top 10 guy because he's not a top 10 quarterback. He doesn't have the talent to elevate a roster. He can drive the car. He's very talented. He's a talented, smart quarterback, but he's not going to elevate the roster like a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen. They're going to make it happen. They're going to get hit. They're going to keep going. That's not what you have with him. You can't pay him like that. So when you pay him, now you can't build an organization around a guy like that. And there's a lot of people who think that we hated him. We didn't. I respect, bro. I respect what he did for this organization, right? But that was a mistake paying him like that. And I've always said that. And now you got a situation now where now you're 5-6 coaches deep because you keep trying to make up for the mistake. Make up for the mistake. Listen to the fan base. Listen to the fan base. Listen to the players. I don't know who to listen to. This is the problem that we're sitting with right now. No, he didn't take a discount. He took every fucking dollar. Tom Brady used to take a discount. This is the problem we sit here now. Now we are in a situation where we have a GM and we have a coach that are not on the same damn timeline. You got a young ass GM with his first GM job, and you got a geriatric coach that needs to win in the next year or two. And it doesn't look like we're even close to that shit. So Pete Carroll, Raiders. Chip Kelly, who's ever in the building that is causing a lot of these issues, that's not the head coach. It's time for them to get fucking moved on out of here. That's what needs to change. If you asking wasted talent, that's what needs to change. They paid Chip Kelly $6 million. Say thank you very much and get him the fuck out of here. If the players, if it's Geno Smith, whomever it is, if you want to win now and you want to make this not look like a dumpster fire, if it's Chip Kelly, then get him the fuck out of here. Look, Patrick Graham, I've seen enough of Patrick Graham. And it's not Patrick Graham's fault. He don't got the players, right? Let Patrick Graham go find a team that got the players. Move this shit on to Rob Leonard. Like, and I'm not into just making change for the sake of change, right? But I've seen Chip Kelly in the National Football League before, and it hasn't really looked that great. Mark Davis is not my issue. He's willing to pay the money. He hired a fucking headhunting organization that helped the Chiefs hire their coaches and this and this and that. That's not the problem, bro. He don't know ball like that. He's willing to just cut the check, and he wants somebody to run this shit right. Y'all keep saying rebuild. There's nothing to rebuild. The house is down, reduce the fucking rubbles. What are you talking about? And I'm not saying we can fire everybody, but they need to figure out who the problem is in the building and get them the fuck out of here now. I'm sorry. And I don't know how long that's going to take. It might take to the end of the season. It might take to the end of the season. It might take to the end of the season. But it's time to get them out of here. And yo, listen, when you got these people who are trying to make this about one player, it ain't about just one player. Everybody's like, rebuild. Yo, what do you mean rebuild? There's nothing to hold on to. They're not winning. And everybody's like, oh, the problem is Pete. No, it's not. You can't tell. Yo, I think there are some problems with him, but he's not the sole reason. You guys are talking this shit. Bro, this organization has been losing for a long fucking time. He's been winning a long time. He comes here and now he's the problem, and it's not a whole amalgamation of things. There are more things at stake than just the coach. We always look for this one thing that's going to help us win, and it's a lot. It's not drafting a quarterback, right? It's the perception of the team and how free agents don't want to come here sometimes. It's keeping on people on the roster to try to placate some of the players. Like, come the fuck on here. There's a lot of different problems. It's a lot of problems. But the biggest problem with Pete, to me, is not benching Geno Smith. His loyalty is going to get the nation to turn completely against him. He needs to stop. I think that old school mentality needs to switch up a bit. I do, right? Now, with the Jermaine Pratt thing, when we start talking about why Jermaine Pratt is no longer here, right? If he's a veteran player that doesn't want to play special teams, that's not mutually exclusive to him. And bro, we sit up here and we're looking for somebody to place blame. The main people that we need to place blame with are the guys that are on the field playing, because they're the ones out there that are executing and not executing, no matter what the plan is, right? So you talk about the main problem. Everybody's like, oh, it's Pete, it's Pete, it's Pete. It's Pete not sitting down Geno Smith. This team is not good right now. It hasn't been for a long time. It hasn't been for a long time. No matter which way you fucking slice it. Sounds like you're more concerned with what us fans are saying versus the fact that this team is still trash. The fans not knowing what you know is not the problem. Bro, what I would tell you is this, yo. Look, we are fans of the team, right? And I'm not concerned about what anybody got to say. I'm just telling you the reality of it, bro. The reality is this, right? We as a fan base need to recalibrate what the metric is for what we're looking for. Do we want instant success? Yeah, but okay, let's be realistic. Instant success is not going to happen, right? Do we want a young head coach? We don't have one, right? We got Pete Carroll. This is who we have. Have we run coaches out of here like scalded dogs? and then a year or two later want them to be coaching the team again. Yeah. I even had people today talking about, oh man, oh, you should have kept Antonio Pierce. Like, man, get the fuck out of here, bro. Only thing I know is this, yo. I can only deal with the reality. The reality is I know that my head coach has won a Super Bowl before. So that means he has the ability to lead a Super Bowl team. Could he be losing his fastball? That is a distinct possibility. But guess what? It's going to take me longer than 5 games to decide whether that's the case or not. So I think that, yo, if we're calling for the coach to be fired in week 5, shame on you. Seriously, shame on you, yo. Special teams haven't been good since Rich Bisaccia left. Daniel Carlson is average at best, and now the coverage is bottom 5. Where's the accountability? The accountability should lay on the lap of Tom McMahon. Tom McMahon has been here long enough. And this is the reason why, you know, I'll even walk back what I said about Chip because I'm emotional now. But Tom McMahon, is, like I said, I stand behind that. I think he needs to go. He's been here for a few years, and the special teams unit has been progressively worse. And when Tom McMahon was with Denver, the same thing happened to the Denver Broncos. I don't understand why we bring coaches who weren't successful other places and think they're going to be successful here. At least with Pete Carroll, I know he's been successful before. We always do. We bring players that weren't successful other places, bring them here and think they're going to be successful and think they're going to be great for us. We bring coaches here who weren't successful and got fired. I think Tom McMahon needs to go right now. Right fucking now. My dog, Pessimistic Frank. Yeah, dog. Hey, look, man, I am who I'm not comparing myself to nobody. Don't do that, bro. But how I fix this is telling the fans it's a fucking rebuild. Make a trade for Shador, draft the O-line, baby's fucking steps. This shit sucks, make some moves. Now, listen, trading for Shador is not something that I feel like is smart. I'm not trading for Shador Sanders, right? I liked Shador Sanders, right? I thought the value in Shador was the fact that he was available in the lower rounds and you could have got him and saw what he had. I'm not giving up any draft capital to bring in Shador Sanders because what I know about Shador is that Shador is a good quarterback, but Shador is not, he doesn't have any elite traits. I'm not trading, like I'm drafting a quarterback. I'm sick of taking other people's problems, bro. I want for John Spytek and Tom Brady and for Pete Carroll to be aligned on the kid that they are going to draft and support and nurture. I don't want them to trade for somebody that one guy might be on board with. And I think for quarterbacks to be successful, a few things need to happen. They need to be protected up front. So I think there needs to be a concerted effort to try to improve this offensive line and protect the young fella. Second of all, the organization, the ownership, everybody needs to be diametrically aligned for it to work. Everybody's got to buy in. And everybody has to make an environment around that young man to be successful. You can't have a situation where, you know, now we let you follow the Browns and now we're going to bring you in and now you're our savior. They didn't think enough of him to bring him in, and they brought in Cam Miller, and Cam Miller is on a fucking practice squad. Shador Sanders is not saving the Raiders, bro. He might be good in his career. He might be good somewhere else, but only thing that's going to happen to Shador here in this situation is he most likely will fail. Because these are people who clearly didn't believe in him. Because if they did, he'd be a Raider right now. Big Lil Bosco, facts wasted, late tapping in. Just want to show support. Big Lil Bosco, my dog. Appreciate you, bro. Roshat, 24, 2-4 in the place, man. Wasted. Your words of wisdom are my generation's voice. I turned 50 the last weekend in September. Please keep up the excellent work. It does hurt, man. I appreciate you, dog. My dog S. Dot, the chubby chaser supreme. I had said this earlier about Chip Kelly. When at the beginning of this hiring, S. Dot. Yo, man, look. Let me sprinkle a little game on you guys who always talk about they're right. They're right. We told you. I get it, bro. there's probably a 80% chance it's not going to work in an organization that hasn't been good or won a Super Bowl since before you were probably born. So what the fuck, man? You act like you're the Amazing Kreskin or something like that. You know, like, look, they paid Chip. We don't have any bearing in that. We have no bearing in that. The only thing we can do when they hire a Chip Kelly is try to figure out, okay, what's good about this hire? Let me look at what's good about this. It's not up to me to just go into this before he gets in the building, right? And just tear Chip Kelly to shreds and bring up all this other shit that happened, right? Because, yo, some of the bad things that happened in Chip Kelly's career happened before the success he's had lately. He's had some success at UCLA. He's had some success at Ohio State, right? So I can just take that and pull from that recent success and say, man, this is a reason why it could work. Yo, he's coming from college. He might know some of these players. It might help us in the draft. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Because, yo, we want to believe, right? It's no fun being a fan of a team to just always be negative and call it and disguise it as being real. Even when there are some things that work. You got some people that when things work and things are good, they still have to come out and be like, oh, well, we'll see. Eventually the motherfucker gonna break his neck or something. Like, what the fuck? What are we doing here, bro? J-Rock, commitment to excellence, just win, baby, has zero relevance today. We took it to the past for inspiration, only to be disappointed the past 30 years. J-Rock, it doesn't now. It's a commitment to excrement right now. And the organization got to fix that. That ain't up to us. They got to fix that. They can't keep talking that just win baby shit when all we do is lose. S-Dot, after Shady and Deshaun clearly stated what this guy be on, and I said shit reminds me of that famous Dukes of Hazzard theme song. We all know. Never meaning no harm. Look, man, like I said, right? This is Shady and Deshaun Jackson is out of the league. That was a long time ago, right? Some people have ebbs and flows in their career. Yo, and guess what? The season ain't over. What if he turns it around, right? What if he turns it around? The main problem is I don't know whether it's Chip, right? I know there's some things. I know Chip Kelly has a problem with the way that he's calling the games. I know that he abandons the run a little too early. So he's a part of the problem, but he's not the whole problem. There has to be a markum of accountability for fucking Geno Smith right now. The only thing I know for a fact is that Geno Smith is the one throwing them interceptions. And listen, like I said, and Teaser, this is a part of this that you forget. I said maybe I was being emotional. Let me chill. The only person that needs to go is Tom McMahon. And I'm not defending him. What I'm saying is that, yo, I need to compartmentalize this in week 5. Like, yo, Tom McMahon's been here long enough. I got enough of a sample size. I might have not gotten enough of a sample size of Chip Kelly. But what I do know is that Geno Smith is responsible for making those plays. Geno Smith is a veteran quarterback. He can check out of a play that's a bad play. Geno Smith is a vet, bro. He's not seeing the whole field. That's the main thing. When you throw interceptions, yo, you suck the air out of the team. But guys, listen, man, the Colts dominated us, man. They dominated us, man. The Colts led 20-3 at the half. That's not just Chip Kelly. Jonathan Taylor destroyed us. 14 carries, 3 tuds. Man, no Brock Bowers. That lays on. So it's a bunch, like, bro, I almost, I feel like I have to reel myself in because there's a lot of things I got a problem with, right? But where I sit is this, right? There are 2 things that I feel like need to be corrected immediately. And there are some other things that we need to put a pin in and wait and see. I think the one thing that needs to be corrected is Tom McMahon. I think Tom McMahon, bro, I think that, yo, if you have a special teams unit that's lost you 2 games, 2 out of the 5 games that you played, and you've been here, and that whole unit has got progressively worse than you've been here, I think that Chip and them, you know, not Chip, but Pete and the gang probably should realize that that's it. Time to go. Because he was here with the previous regimes. Get Tom McMahon out of here. It's time. Right? With Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith, and it might not be for the whole rest of the season, but I think Geno Smith needs to be sat down. I think that if Pete Carroll can't hold him accountable, then you can't hold anyone else accountable. I think part and parcel of the reason why when the Patriots were good was the fact that Bill Belichick used to call Tom Brady out. And if Tom Brady is being called out in front of the team, then that means nobody's above the program. If Max is being called out, that means nobody's above the program. Right? There's another problem. Pete Carroll, John Spytek, you know, not kind of really addressing certain things in free agency and leaving this team devoid of not balance, but devoid of depth. This team is very, very depraved of depth, yo, and it's showing up right now. Ruben Russ, Chip is calling good games. Chip downfall was always personnel. He thinks he can win with his guys, but there are people screaming open, but Geno isn't reading the field. Shady and Deshaun had career years in Chip's offense, and that's a fact. Chip Kelly in the red zone picked an empty set formation, all streaks play, having Geno look hella bogus. Geno went allowed to audible. Just only tell the O-line, here comes the blitz. LOL, shaking my head. How the fuck do you know that? Sometimes, bro, look, man, you got to let me know if you got somebody in the building telling you this shit, bro. How do you know that? Big Lil Bosco. Raider Nation, I don't know if y'all know this. Everyone drafted in the NFL don't care about getting the ring, making a Hall of Fame, or even retiring all pro. Some just want to collect and has as much guaranteed money and dip. And I feel that. There's some people that don't give a shit. Raider Rash, wasted. Hear me out. What if coaches, players, and staff are preying on Mark Davis, knowing he'll pay high price and take advantage as a cash grab? Just saying. Raider Rash, I don't believe that. Who the hell is going to go out there, risk their life, risk their health, risk their career? Like, all these players, all these coaches aren't 74 years old. Like, Josh McDaniels coming here and not being successful has done irreparable damage to the Raiders. He didn't come here just for a lick. He came here to win. Because if you win, guess what happens? The NFL is a meritocracy. If you win, you make more money. If you lose, you normally don't. Like, winning means more money, especially for coaches. So I don't buy that at all. Xavier Lamelli, we need to go identify a franchise QB in this draft and stop kicking the can down the road, hoping these career backups will come up and save us. And that is an organizational problem. We have identified the organizational weakness of the Raiders. It is not drafting quarterbacks until they get their quarterback. 100%. 100%. But Geno's a huge part of this problem, y'all. I'm reading everyone's conspiracies, but the cold reality is we aren't a well-disciplined team, and it's showing on the field. I think that, and let me reel myself in, because my emotions are still running high, man. And y'all emotions are still running high. Sometimes it's that's on me, right? Like, sometimes I have to reel it in before I even start the show. But I've been hearing it all day at work, talking about the Raiders, and I'm just a little pissed. I'm not gonna lie. I see, a lot of stuff floating around on Twitter and shit. I'm just like, man, this sucks, man. At week 5, right? We got a situation where, man, this shit is painful, bro. I mean, we have a secondary that we thought was going to be at a certain level, and they're not there, right? You got Kai Blue Kelly. He's allowed 346 yards this season, the most in the NFL. Through 5 games, right? through 5 games, the Raiders are man, horrendous. Then you have a situation with Pete Carroll. This is another organizational weakness, right? Jackson Powers Johnson has played phenomenal, bro. Only in pass blocking, he hasn't really played that great, but he's been 4th in run blocking. He's the 4th grade in run blocking PFF, right? 9th overall PFF grade out of all guards in the league. 1 sack allowed, 4 pressures allowed. 5.1 yards per carry as a lead blocker. And Pete Carroll was telling me that guy needs to compete, and Geno Smith doesn't. I just think that there are several problems with this team. Several. Then we have our starting quarterback, Geno Smith. Because now it's time for the information part of the show, and I got to get out of here, right? The worst interception rate amongst quarterbacks in this league right now is Jake Browning at 6.5%, Geno Smith at 5.5%, Brock Purdy. No one else in the league is above 4%. So Geno Smith is one of the 3 worst quarterbacks in this league, and he has the highest interceptions because he's thrown the ball more than anybody. Then we have a situation where Jermaine Pratt has left the building. Now, some say it's because he wasn't willing to play special teams. But if I'm being honest, John Spytek and Pete Carroll brought him here. He wasn't left over from Antonio Pierce. He wasn't left over from the previous regime. Y'all brought him here. There hasn't been a fucking player that they've brought here since they've run this organization that's really worked out in a real way yet. I mean, you know, Devin White is working out kind of. Jamal Adams is working out kind of. But most of these guys that they're bringing here are not working out. Geno Smith is not working out, right? So we got to look at that too. And then what we also have to look at, and this is the most important thing, and this is what I wanted to convey in this live. Where are we going as an organization? Where are we going? Are we looking to the future? Is there a quarterback that we're looking at and we're saying, hey, man, maybe we can get the number 1 pick and get him? There ain't nobody out there just yet, right? And even if that's the case, is Pete going to do what's right and get him? Is he so sold out on Geno Smith? Because it's looking like he's about to flush his career down the toilet for Geno Smith, because he almost flushed his career down the toilet in Seattle defending Geno Smith. Are we going to really commit to drafting a quarterback? Right? And then if you do draft a quarterback, who on this organization is going to realize that this man has a young spirit, but he's not a young man? And they need to have the heir apparent for Pete Carroll in the building now, if y'all think this could work. Pete Carroll being 74 years old is a problem. And I am not an ageist, right? But that shit is a problem for the Raiders. Because when you hire a young football coach, right, like Ben Johnson, it's conceivable that Ben Johnson could be the coach of the Chicago Bears for the next 15 years. It's conceivable. There's no metric that Pete Carroll will be the coach in 15 years or even 5. There's no metric. And the thing is that if this is a rebuild, right, and he's still the coach and you're not going to run him out of here and make this look like a dumpster fire, who on this roster is the heir apparent to Pete Carroll? That guy kind of needs to be identified now so they can be on the same sheet of music. And also, I will say this again. I've said this 20 times this episode. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. The bad and the ugly has been Geno Smith and Geno Smith. Geno Smith, you know, his response to his play Him saying that he don't listen to the outside world and we. Nah, man. It ain't no we. It's you, Gino. Gino, you got to get this right. Gino, you the one out there not seeing the field. You're the one being late. You're the one not seeing guys running down the field screaming, screaming like Jack Best wide fucking open for 20 yards. You are not seeing the field, bro. You not seeing it. It's not no we. It ain't no we. It's you, bro. It's you, Gino. And you need to take accountability for it. You. Because you were brought here to be the veteran presence to stabilize this situation here. And you didn't. And that's it. So guess what, Gino? You need to go grab some pine this week. And I think that Kenny Pickett playing is not some Kenny Pickett playing is not some like cure-all, because Kenny Pickett is woefully basic. He's woefully average. He's not going to be the next Baker Mayfield. But what Kenny Pickett is he's a guy who will probably take care of the football. You don't have a chance when you have a football team that has no depth and is devoid of talent in a lot of areas. Like if you want to posture, like you did with Jackson Powers Johnson, and you want to show everybody that it's about competing, you sit Gino down. And if Kenny plays bad, then you go back to him. Fuck it. Throw another log on the fire. The season isn't going well anyway. And if you think that there's any way that you could turn it around next year you're gonna have to come back with 2 new quarterbacks any goddamn way. But it's about more than just putting him in and saying that, okay, Kenny's going to win. Does Geno Smith give you guys any confidence that he's going to win now, the way he's playing? Do you keep supporting him and not holding him accountable, but you hold Jackson Powers Johnson accountable? You guys are holding, a rookie Ashton Genty accountable? Who holds these people accountable? Who holds Chip Kelly accountable when it comes to Jack Bech? Why the hell has Jack Bech not been playing? He's a second-round pick. Not Dante Thornton, Bech. And I like Dante, right? But Bech should have been playing a lot more than this. The fucking kid hasn't dropped anything all season. And the problem is that there's been a double standard on this team, yo. And I think that all of that compete shit that Pete talks about is garbage if he doesn't just at least sit Geno down just for a week, just to call him to the carpet and be like, yo, you are not, what you're doing is not good. You are in a constant competition for your job. Listen, I can live with Aiden O'Connell. I can live with Kenny Pickett, even if they are not really moving the ball or pushing the ball down the field in a real way, as long as you're not turning the goddamn football over, man. Turning the football over takes the air out of everyone, bruh. Yo, and Bruce Billions is right. They need to stop protecting Geno because it pisses the fan base of the Raiders off. Look, I understand this offensive line is bad. I get it. I understand that you got a rookie running back that's figuring it out. I understand that you got a new coach and a new offensive coordinator, everybody trying to jive and get on the same sheet of music. I understand that there's not a lot of depth. I understood that. That's why I had us being like 7-10, right? But what I don't understand is for a quarterback to make the same mistake week after week after week, and for there not to be any freaking consequences for that. And let me tell you something. If Kenny Pickett can't come in and do better than 3 interceptions every week, then he shouldn't be in the league. Look, man, examples need to be made. So when you go to a new school, people are fucking with you. What do? You punch the biggest guy in the mouth. Examples need to be made. Salute to Mo Moton, right? Mo always, he brought up a quote the other day that I remember that Bill Belichick said, and it's right on time. Salute to Mo. He said, ball security is job security. And Geno ain't been so secure with it. And that means his job should not be secure too. Y'all, I love every single one of y'all, man. I've been ranting all day, and I don't care. I'm glad that you guys sat with me, right? And we're going to be just this week, man. We're going to leave the negativity here today on Monday. We're going to leave the negativity here, and we're going to move forward. And we're going to hope that these fuckers realize the error of their ways this week. This is what we're going to hope. But we're going to leave the negativity right here, right now. We're going to go forward. Listen, and Mackie ENT, you do whatever the fuck you want to do. You do what you want. I can't speak for y'all. I'm going to speak for me. I'm going to leave the negativity right here. I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to be realistic, and I'm going to realize something. We're not going to win many more games this season as currently constituted. Unless Pete Carroll changes the way that he does business. If he doesn't change the way he does business, right, he deserves all the ire and fire from Raider Nation. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him a chance to make some changes. Maybe change the quarterback. Maybe switch some things around. Maybe make Chip Kelly come on the sideline with you so you can control what he's doing. Maybe demand that he runs the football more. But I tell you what, man. Look, real fandom is supporting your team, right? But it also doesn't mean that you got to be happy with everything they do. And you guys have every right to call this team out. And I don't give a shit what anybody says. No matter who says what, y'all got the right to spend your money the way you want to. Y'all got the right to get upset every week. You, like Mackie ENT said, because every year I look at the roster and say this year, and every year I get kicked in the nuts with steel toes. But you got the right to be pissed, Mackie. All of the guys that come out and they say, like, they have a negative take. A lot of that shit is like a defense mechanism because they love the team too. They love the team too, yo. I'm gonna give an example, and I hate naming names, right? But like Honcho, right? Honcho is a football coach, right? And he looks at the team and he's like, yo, we don't have this, and that. And I'm gonna just tell y'all how it is, and I don't give a fuck what you think. And some people don't like that. But I respect it. Because he's looking at it from a purely football sense, right? But that doesn't mean that you don't want the team to win. That don't mean that. I don't believe that. I just believe that, he's like, man, look, I do X's and O's for a living. I see what's going on. I know that these guys aren't good, and I'm not going to sit up here and try to tell you that they are, right? And then he also loves Derek Carr too, right? And I hear him every time. I don't watch guys a lot, but anytime I tune, it always turns to a Derek Carr conversation. He's like, Derek Carr, with some more Derek Carr on the side. Derek Carr. We need Derek Carr. But nah, man. salute to my guy, man. You know what I'm saying? But look, man, listen, at the end of the day, bro, everybody has their right to feel the way they want to feel. People that are really invested in this team. Yo, so if you feel negatively, bro, you got the right to. If you feel like you want to be positive, you got the right to. But yo, in the middle of that is the real problem. We as fans and as pundits of the Raiders, we can give our opinions, but they don't got to listen. But you don't have to spend your money and you don't got to invest your time, yo. But what I would tell you is Wasted is going to keep investing in the team because this is what I love to do. I'm going to keep watching, right? And I'm going to be pissed every way along the way. But I need for you guys to allow people the space to be who they are in this thing. I need for people to stop like putting how they want to Raider on others. I think that shit is wrong, bro. So if you guys are negative and you checked out, then God bless you. But I'm not. I'm not checked out. Look, I'm a sick puppy. I'll keep watching the Raiders even if they fucking lose every game this season from here on out. But yo, man, listen, guys. Y'all have a terrific effing night, man. Love every single one of y'all, man. And let's hope that some of this dysfunction, right? Let's hope that the one thing that we know, right? The one thing we know is that Pete Carroll has been successful other places, and now he put on silver and black, and now he's like the man without a brain, right? Let's hope that he can draw back to some of the things that made him successful and help turn this thing around in a way where, we might not go to the playoffs this year, but get us out of the goddamn dumpster. Because right now, this is a dumpster fire. Hey, man, love y'all. Be back all week. Y'all have a terrific night, man. Peace.